Hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigor Mortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the Easterns are evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight, as always, it seems, we're doing an SCP.
That is what our show is now.
Yes. SCP-3435. As we continue down the rabbit hole that are SCP entries that have links to other SCPs, and it just goes all the way down.
Thanks, Mr. Fucknuts.
Thanks, Joey. But yeah, we are continuing our line of Joey Fucknuts related SCPs, the ones that were linked in the various in the saga of Joey Fucknuts. But yeah, we're gonna do this one. This is the SCP-3435, which is from Joey Fucknuts Takes to the Sky, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's what the link is.
Yeah. And it's the blue dinosaur, like cyborg dinosaur, and the red Western dragon wizard that was in his dreams, telling him that he can do it. But yeah, there's an actual SCP to it. So SCP-3435, as it states in the description for SCP-3435, is an oil painting by known artist Guillermo Gutierrez, titled Dream a Better Dream, measuring 110 centimeters by 68 centimeters. SCP-3435 depicts two entities, a blue theropod dinosaur with cybernetic attachments and various laser weapons reminiscent of those in science fiction, and a red European-style wyvern dressed in a pointed hat and colorful robe, holding a staff and what appears to be a spellbook. Repeated viewings of SCP-3435 often show changes in the relative position of the entities, although the majority of viewings appear to show the entities physically fighting. The background of the painting also varies wildly between different viewings, even when viewed multiple times by the same person. And then what happens after somebody views the painting is that these creatures will insert themselves into their dreams for an amount of time that's like roughly like one night, but anywhere between 1 night and 8 nights. And they send them various like messages while they're in their dreams and such. Through interviews with D-Class and even the artist himself, as conducted by Dr. Marvilla, we learn of people's experiences and even a bit more on the origins of the painting and the and a supernatural art terrorist group that exists apparently. What?
Then yes.
Okay. And a little bit more also about the entities themselves by the artist. And the people's experience, like the D-Class's experiences are like what they thought about the painting and what they can recall from their dreams with the entities from the paintings. Also, if you try to make a BS like art critique of the painting and what it represents social politically, you start retching and feel ill. So, turns out that's not what the art wants you to do. But yeah, that's SCP-3435 in a nutshell. So, I guess we'll go on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions at this point. I actually have one. It's actually in that first like sentence of the description of the SCP entity. So SCP-3435 is an oil painting by an artist, Guillermo Gutierrez. So I think it's supposed to be. You just need to get rid of that "an" at like that's combined with artist and just make it by known artist. Like I kind of, sorry, I kind of fuck. Sorry, I'm burping a lot. I kind of did that with when I did my rundown. I kind of fixed it when I added the paragraph, the first paragraph of the SCP's description. So,
Yes.
yeah, no, that's
Wow.
really. Oh, yep.
Well, how do we know that it's not a mixture between an anarchist and an artist?
See, I was thinking that too, but
He's an artist, which is short for
don't-
anarchist artist.
an Antarctic artist, an Antarctic anarchist artist. I also don't know if that term even exists, but
I don't think it does.
no, I mean, yeah, we do find out a little bit later about like this supernatural art terrorist group. But I think it's just supposed to be known artist, Guillermo Gutierrez. I could be wrong.
Well,
And if I am, I'm sorry.
I looked up what is an artist, and apparently, in some things, it is actually a thing.
Oh.
So, a person
I
who
don't know.
produces paintings or drawings as a profession or hobby.
Wait, what? Hang on. Wait, hang. Mikey.
Isn't that just an artist?
Yeah, it's Mikey. It's not.
What,
The "and" is separate then, and that's not the problem here. Like, because I did try using. I tried like separating "and" and artist, but it seemed like more, like correct to have it remove that "and" because SCP is an oil painting by known artist, not by. And you could do like by a known artist. Guillermo Gutierrez, but it seems like by known artist Guillermo Gutierrez kind of sounds better to me.
Okay. I'm also found a wiki article that says anti-art, an artist meaning no artist at all.
But that's not the case for this because he is
Also-
clearly a painter and an artist.
I found a thing.
Uh-oh.
It's on scp-wiki.wiki.com, a study of anomalous art. And this is another thing that where it's
Son of a
not this,
bitch.
and it's not this one. It's just talking about like this one says high creationists. Through the act of creation, the an artist does not only express reality but defines it.
This is the hill we're dying on.
Shared, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is a property shared amongst all an artists. So all an artists are considered valid in the eyes of the school.
Okay, then here's my rebuttal to all of this bullshit. An artist needs a fucking link to the description in the SCP Foundation about an anomalous artist. Because, like,
according to William Tartor, founder of the Artistic Anomalies Unit, an art is a piece of artistic media with an anomalous effect that was intended by the artist as part of the expression of the piece.
Which fits this SCP perfectly, because that's exactly what it is.
Yes. I did Control F for an art on this article, and it came up 32 times. So I think they meant to type it.
Yeah, I think I could, and it does make sense. Anomalous artist, like you would smash that together to be an artist. That makes sense. But this for
Although
this
he's
SCP,
he's also an artist.
Yeah, that makes
Because
sense.
if you're saying he's an artist, he's an artist. So that's
Well,
doubly
no.
annoying.
Well, no, actually, it does make sense for in the context of how the sentence goes. There wouldn't be an "and" there because it says
SCP-3435
is an oil painting by known an artist, which makes sense because he is a known an artist. He's known among the Foundation and some of its personnel. So
I know. I was making a funny saying that if I was going to classify myself as an artist, I would say, "Hi, I'm the gamer in yellow. I am an artist."
Yeah, no, I
you would say "and" twice because that's annoying, and that's how it is.
Because it's funny and dumb.
Well, yeah. We can move on from here. I figured that.
What's funny and dumb is a banana artist.
An artist.
All that.
That's the French artist. An artist.
Yeah, that's really nice.
All right, yeah, we're already dead. Our corpses are on the bottom of this hill that we've died on.
Fine. Anyone out there that wants to read up on it, just Google "an artist" in quotations meaning, and the first response is the SCP Wiki article.
Oh, okay, that's
and you can learn all about it.
And
I'll
if,
paste it in our Discord chat if you just want to click on it right now.
Fair enough. Also, I forgot to mention that this SCP is not by Cadaver Commander, which was my first go-to because it was in one of their stories. It is actually by Weryllium, who has also produced a shit ton of SCP articles. So
it makes sense though, because it doesn't have the same header as all the previous ones.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, so yeah, if Weryllium, if you ever listen to this, just a tiny suggestion, maybe make the an artist word there a link to what an artist is, just for clarity. just putting that out there. But I digress. I'm walking away from this hill. I never want to see it again.
Good. Fine. I will stand triumphant on top of it.
Yes.
Now you know what to do for the art.
Yep. All of our corpses on the top of a hill. No. But no, Mikey, D stands for evil. Do you have anything for Grammar Inquisition?
Surprisingly, I don't.
What?
Flawless.
Nice. All right. Fair enough. Gamer.
I don't have any either.
Okay. Wow. I was the only one that picked up on something. Okay. Cool.
Which created a hill that we died on.
Yeah, that's fine. That one thing that I thought I was just gonna comment on, and like it was just a slight thing, turned out to be basically an It Story's worth of, or Conjunction Junction's worth of talking.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, we learned things.
We did. Yeah, we learned things about not just about words that don't exist, but words that are now terminology within the SCP Foundation. All right. Anyways, moving on. We have actual thoughts. Which, I got some things to say about this. So, special containment procedure. This is from Special Containment Procedures. Personnel must be screened before assignment to SCP-3435. Those with backgrounds in politics or art criticism or are automatically prohibited from viewing SCP-3435. Or images of SCP-3435. Well, I've already technically broken several Foundation codes and regulations for cognito-hazardous safety measures. What's one more? Because I went to art school.
Yeah, but you also haven't seen the painting.
That's true, yeah. I was actually surprised that there wasn't a link to a painting in this.
Yeah. I mean, it would kill most people. Actually, it wouldn't. It would just make them sick. Wouldn't.
Yeah, this is actually like a very safe anomaly object because it doesn't kill you. If you're an art snob, you get sick, and you get visited in your dreams by a rad fucking duo of dinosaur and dragon.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, I digress. Yeah, I was like, all right, well, it's like, anybody with a background of art criticism? Well, I'm out. I'll walk away.
Just because you went to art school doesn't mean that you're an art critic, though.
I would like to present the last 374 episodes of Al Dente Rigor Mortis, where we critique literary fiction, which is technically art.
Yeah, all right, fine. You can die. I don't need
I'll
to die
on that. Yeah, you die on that hill over there. I'll die on this hill.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God. Corpse Hill Siege. Where am I here? Okay, so the next one I have. Under no circumstances are any personnel to be assigned to both SCP-3435 and SCP-2078 at the same time.
Rabbit hole.
And it begins. Adding it to the list. Okay, just for clarity, we're going to be covering one more SCP this month, and then we're going to be moving on to regular creepypastas for a little while, and then we're going to go back to some of the SCPs that we've been gathering from these rabbit holes.
Just so we don't get SCP'd off.
Yeah. I do not want to get SCP'd off.
No.
Or SCP'd on.
No.
I mean, I don't kink shame, but like, it's just not what I go for.
For sure, yeah.
Wow. Really stretched that one. All right. Okay. Back to the show. My next one here. Description. This is from the description. SCP-3435 is an oil painting by known artist Guillermo Gutierrez titled Dream a Better Dream, measuring 110 centimeters by 68 centimeters. So, Dream a Better Dream there is a link. And I was expecting it to be a link to a painting of sorts. But it actually takes you back to the story of Joey Fucknuts, that the dream sequence takes place in. Like, that it's just, and what have you, and where this thing kind of, like, where the dinosaur and dragon make their appearance in the Joey Fucknut story.
So which came first, the painting or the Fucknut?
My next note is, I did check.
Okay.
And this entry actually comes first in 2017, whereas Joey Fucknut's story was written in 2018. So
okay, that's what I figured.
And they are by separate persons. Cadaver Commander did the Joey stories, and this entry was done by Weryllium. So this is definitely a case of like collab sort of capacity, because like this link goes to a story, and that story then has a link to this entry. So like, yeah, they added links to their respective stories that they were including in here.
Yeah.
But it does beg the question here, because of the link to a story about these creatures. In fiction, did Guillermo Gutierrez receive a vision of the dreamscape Joey found himself in when he was painting that story? Was he, in fact, like some kind of prophet or sensitive to SCPs? Was he, in fact, Agent Dreamcast?
Ooh.
Is Guillermo Gutierrez have a Sega Dreamcast for a head?
You may, or just Joey stumble across the painting at some point.
Yeah, maybe that could also be it. Maybe I'm trying to think of like how he would come across it in Devil's Gulch. No, how did he come across it in Devil's Gulch? Does the SCP just dump like because the SCP confiscated a bunch of the artwork? So do they just dump the artwork in Devil's Gulch? Is it Devil's Gulch? No, it's
doesn't sound right.
Yeah, what the hell? Wait, why? No, I'm losing it. I'm losing the Joey story stuff. No,
SCP stayed in there forever.
What is it? What's their town called?
Gulch?
What is it? Vulture Gulch. Yes. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. Do they dump? Does the Foundation dump their art? These kind of like harmless, anomalous SCP art pieces just in Vulture Gulch, and so like that's how
Joey.
Wow.
You're really forgetting it.
It's either that or like I just got up like half hour ago. Like right before
brain is full.
Yeah. Did Joey just like stumble upon it? Maybe when the Foundation like was handing them like their monthly allotment of cars, it was like the paintings were just in the trunk.
Yeah. Someone tried to steal them, but he like got away. But he had to leave the paintings in the car so he can make his escape.
Yeah.
And then they confiscated the car back and didn't check it because it was found in Derpland, of course.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah.
That other SCP. We should do. We should make an SCP entry for Derpland.
Yeah, we probably should.
Entire state of Derpland. Oh my god, I kind of want to write that now. We'll save that for a Plot Growers episode.
Yeah.
All right. But that's what I had. Like, I was wondering, is like, how does like, because this is when I was first starting to read the story. I was like, wait, so there's a link to this story, like a link to the Joey story in this entry, and there's a link to this entry in Joey story. So like, that's some cool out of game like kind of cross pollination. But like in fiction, is Gutierrez like did he paint that that piece because of the vision of the dream of Joey Fucknuts, or is it just like a random happenstance sort of thing? Which we just kind of covered. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
because what came first, the chicken or the egg? What came first, the Joey dream or the painting of Joey's dream?
Maybe the painter is Joey in the future.
Oh. What if Joey? What if Gutierrez is Joey alive?
Ooh. Before he deaded.
Mm-hmm. Because again, it's the SCP Foundation. Like, time travel can be a thing. Like, he could be alive in the modern day and then have died in the past and become a zombie in the future.
That makes sense.
It makes, you know what? It makes as much sense in any kind of weird fiction. So, all right, let's walk away from the wibbly wobbly timey stuff for a moment. So back
Easiest one is probably just the artist is sensitive to SCPs, and one night he had the same dream as Joey for reasons.
Yes.
And then he painted that.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that idea of like these like sort of they're psychically kind of attuned to SCPs. There's certain people out there that are SCPs in themselves if you want if you really think about it. But I digress. Moving on to my next quote and comment. In 87% of cases, the viewer's dreams will sporadically involve the entities depicted in the painting. Reports indicate that the dream entities, designated SCP-3435-1, will attempt to communicate with the dreamer. So, why not give both a designation rather than grouping them together as one? Like
D1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like SCP-3435-1 and SCP-3435-2. Like,
Yeah, because then they can say, like, -1 said this and -2 said that.
Exactly. Like, why not do that? Why did you have to group them together? I mean, they're clearly not a singular unified unit because they're always depicted like separately. They're drastically different genres. One's fantasy and one's sci-fi. One's a dinosaur, one's a dragon. That's a huge difference. That's a mile-long difference.
One's male, one's female.
Yeah, exactly. Even that. Which I didn't actually realize in the Joey Fucknut story that the dinosaur was a female.
Mm-hmm.
But also like and they're seen fighting and squabbling in the paintings and stuff like that in various actions. So they are not a singular unit. They are two separate entities technically.
Yeah, because right now if you were trying to describe the fight, it'd be like -1 reeled back and threw a punch at -1, but -1 dodged it.
Yeah,
But right then, -1 hit an uppercut on -1, but not before -1 kicked -1 right in the shins.
Or even better yet, why not be SCP-3435-1 blue and SCP-3435-1 red? Like,
Yeah,
because give them color designation because they're colored.
or just -B and -R.
Exactly, yeah, that would work too. Oh god, this is literally a red versus blue scenario.
Yep.
God damn it.
Yeah. Well, I think they did this because they only show up together. Like,
Yeah, Sorry.
like you can't have one without the other.
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, like, I feel like that it kind of limits you to wanting to, like, if you want to, like, have these characters in other stories, which clearly they've been in other stories, like, so, like, why not give them a separate designation each? Because they're technically, well, yes, they're the same technically, like, designated category. Heck, even just do, like, 1A and 1B, which I know SCP
Yeah, I was
Foundation
just gonna
does.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like basically -1 is their tag team, but the -A and B after that is the individual members of that tag team.
Tonight on Al Dente Rigor Mortis, Hills We Die On.
Yeah, it's like the Legion of Doom is a tag team, but then Hawk and Animal are members of the Legion of Doom.
Wow, that's a good callback. Not callback. But that's a good. Like I didn't even know who the Legion of Doom was. Like what the Legion of Doom consisted of. So
Yeah, man.
nice.
some of my old school knowledge that I never use.
No, it's appropriate for this.
Yeah.
Technically. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. No. I just like. I guess a little bit more further designation, clarification. I
Mhm.
feel might be needed. I guess this might even be considered a grammar inquisition if you think about it, but
Kind of.
moving right along to a kitchen segment. So the quote is the quote I'm taking for this is a common theme in dreams involving SCP-3435 is elements of dreamers' childhood, and then it kind of goes on in the story or in the entry about like these creatures kind of manifesting and into like memories and stuff like that of childhood encounters and stuff that that interviewees have. So my kitchen segment thing here is like this is straight up fodder for Monster and Other Childish Things, or Little Fears, or Tales from the Loop, for RPG stuff, where like you're playing a bunch of kids who are dealing with weird supernatural and super science shit. Like what you thought were imaginary friends are in fact these dimensional monsters that are hiding in your dreams. Like they came to your like this is basically the origin for this could be the origin for like a monster kid. Like they came to the kid after the kid saw this rad painting in some lame ass art gallery on a field trip. Also, this could sort of play on something that Mikey likes to mention every so often, at least in the past, the idea of false memories. Because this painting kind of does like false memory stuff, like by having these creatures inserted into people's dreams and like using their like childhood memories to like kind of like I remember these things from my childhood thing, even though they were clearly inserted into their dreams like no, not more than like a night ago. Using and it's sort of like Inception, like how like they plant an idea through your dreams, sort of situation. So like that as a concept to be implemented in like either a game scenario or even like a creepypasta story itself, the characters are investigating strange goings on surrounding some so-called or surrounding some recalled events by witnesses from a nostalgic series or figures, sort of like a lost episode sort of angle a little bit. Like so they half remember this show or this duo of a cyborg a dinosaur and a wizard dragon. And then the characters have never heard of this series and they try researching and looking it up, and then they find maybe an image of the painting in their research. And then that night, that's when it is mimetically inserted into them. So suddenly they always have known about these characters, and now they're speaking to the characters in their dreams, or perhaps even through hallucinations. So like in a game wise, the GM just says like, no, you've always known about these guys, and then and it's almost like basically nodding to the players like you're having to roll a sand check, not your character, because your character's going insane.
Mm-hmm.
Or as a story, it's like suddenly like as a reader like, oh wait, what oh shit, the character I'm reading about is contaminated now. Like shit, because like they couldn't find because in the previous couple of paragraphs they couldn't find anything about this show. They've never even heard about it until like it was mentioned by some witness of a crime or sequence that happened, or like an art theft that happened, and then they find the painting and look at it, and then suddenly they already always have known about these creatures. So it's sort of again like a play on the false memory theory, where like we insert ideas into our memories because memories aren't solid, they aren't concrete, they are mutable. But yeah, that would be my idea for like a creepypasta or a game idea, is have these basically be like your monsters for your monster kids. Or have the kids themselves, like a group of kids, like looking into these creatures that are afflicting people's other kids' dreams, or have it be like a more adult like modern story where like some investigators are looking into like an art theft, and people just keep talking about this weird random show or like figures from like what seemed like a series from the 80s or 90s. because that's kind of what they fit the bill with. It's like this, like they're very, very rad, tubular cowabunga style like era of Saturday morning cartoon characters.
Kind of. All the themes you're talking about are kind of like Candle Coving a lot.
Oh yeah, no, I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Candle Cove is sort of a progenitor of like a lot of those type of things, but like you can still do different things with that. Like you can still like do your own take on that stuff. So yeah, no, there's a reason Candle Cove is like it's not a creepypasta technically, but it's kind of like a progenitor of so many different types of creepypasta.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my kitchen segment from now about like what you could do with this. I can move on to the next comment I have on this story, or do you guys have anything else to talk about with the kitchen segment?
No. Seems about good.
Okay. Then moving right along. If the viewer perceives SCP-3435 as being representative of a socio-political issue or conflict, the viewer will experience migraines of various severity. If the viewer writes down or speaks about their interpretation of SCP-3435, they will experience further side effects, including stomach cramps, diarrhea, hemorrhoids, or constipation. And again, to this, I immediately thought of, wow, so it's an anti-art school or anti-bullshit? Zing! I went to art school.
You're also not wrong.
Yeah, no, like again, when I went to art class, like art courses and stuff like that in college, like fine art courses and stuff in college, it was 90% bullshit. Like, and I just mean that in that like it's 90% interpretation and like 10% execution.
Yeah, like,
because
art
that's
is all like subjective, right?
Exactly. Like yeah, most art is, especially when it comes to fine art, like most like fine art is just is very personal pieces or how you view a piece. Like it's like what does this piece invoke in you, kind of thing. Which, but half the time people just kind of make, again, like half the time you bullshit a super smart kind of explanation as to what you think this piece represents. Like, what does this dot in a white space represent? The crippling debt of society. But yeah, so I just like I just love how this art piece is like, no, fuck you, assholes.
Yeah.
have a migraine, and then if you start talking too much about it, have some diarrhea. Here's some Pepto-Bismol, motherfucker.
Also, in regards to that black dot on a white piece of paper, the correct answer would be critical fail. Because you rolled a 1.
Oh, ha 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 ha.
The square with a white or with a black dot on it.
Yeah,
that's
true.
A 1 on a d6, sir.
Yes, clearly. Yeah. The canvas is just like is a 5x5 canvas with a singular dot painted in the, and it's been like primed white, like all like completely white, and then they just put a little dot of black paint in the center of it, and it's just like yeah, that's the title of it would be called critical failure.
Mm-hmm.
And then yeah, just watch
people will be thinking all these like smartsy ways of explaining. It's like, no, it's just literally one side of a dice.
Yeah, it's literally just the side of the one-sided die. Yeah. No, I get you. That's exactly what people would do. Like in an art gallery, the art snobs would just be like, well, I think it's clear that this is a metaphor. Oh god, just and then they start vomiting. I would definitely be an artist.
Yeah, you pretty much were, or would be rather.
Yes. So moving on, that should be the title. Just a single like canvas piece with a black dot in the center.
You just want to do less work.
I mean, you're not wrong. Again, that's kind of like what fine artists are. Oh.
Wow.
No, that's what graphic designers.
You're not wrong either.
And that's actually more what graphic designers do. because as a graphic designer, we lazy.
Mhm.
But I digress from my.
Are you done digressing now?
I think I am. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about one of the interview logs here. So, interview log 3435-01. That's confusing at all.
What?
Because 3435-1 is the SCP entity in the painting, and then
Oh, shit, it is.
3435-01 is the interview log. So there's a 0 there before the 1, but it's still fucking
Yeah, but
annoying.
if that gets up to 10, then it's 1-0.
Yeah.
And the 0 after it could just be saying, like, there's nothing there. So yeah, that is fine.
Yeah. But, so this is actually the, inside that interview, it's with D11424. Being asked about what the dinosaur said to him and such. And so he says, a little bit. It's hazy. Let's see. The dinosaur took me for a walk on the beach. At least I think it was a beach. Wait, yeah, it was the one we went to one summer when I was 8. She asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I said I always wanted to be a deep sea diver. I always loved the ocean, you know? So deep sea diver in this interview sentence, or this interview paragraph, is actually a link to SCP-3379, which I'm going to add to the roster. Just add that to the list. And it is just on a quick glance of the description, it is a rectangular portal approximately 8 meters beneath the surface of the Arctic Ocean. And at first I was confused as to why it was mentioned. However, another quick scan of that entry shows that D11424 gets his chance to be a deep sea diver as a D-class test subject for this portal.
Oh.
So yeah, it's interesting. Like they actually have they connected the entries, and I'm pretty
D-class
sure,
person.
yeah, through a D-class individual. And this is not the first time this is done, because like this is later in the story, later in this entry rather, like in one of the interviews, D191060, further down the interview line. Actually, I think it's the last interview of this log. Links to SCP-3132, which, according to the first sentence in the description, is a plaster replica of a human vertebrae. So, yeah, I'm just going to add those again to our list for like a future month of SCPs, because we're just harboring them now.
Pretty much.
But again, it was neat that, like, yeah, they're. I don't know how I guess if nothing like physically or psychologically happens to the D classes, they can use them again. But it seems sort of like not unethical, although it is sometimes unethical what they do with the D class. But it seems sort of you don't want to cross contaminate your studies on certain SCPs by having them be tested on having your D class be tested on several different SCPs.
I see D class like Ziploc bags. I mean, you could reuse them, but it's better just to get a new one.
Yeah. And I mean, that's super unethical, but then again, like, they are all supposed to be like criminals on death row and such like that. So, and sometimes they aren't, but yeah, I just thought that was really interesting that, like, this story uses, like, yeah, like as they're going through the interviews, like there's links, and then you go to it and it's like, oh, this D class was used in another SCP entry. That's kind of related in a way, because he was talking in the dream. He was talking about wanting to be a deep sea diver, and then he got his chance later on in another SCP. Now, as to his fate in that other SCP, we don't know yet.
I mean, for all we know, he already did that SCP, and this one's after that.
Perhaps, yeah. We'll have to double check.
Wait, what's the numbering?
It's well, yeah. This one is SCP-3435, and that one is 3379. So yeah, you're probably right. That one may
at least
come
the Foundation
first.
Foundation found that one first. Whether or not he was exposed to it first, that's
Yes,
completely different.
exactly. Also, whether or not I think it's Weryllium who wrote that one as well. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. If only I could double check. I don't know. Hang on.
Impossible.
SCP was it 397 something or
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
yeah, in a galaxy far away.
79 and 3132.
Okay, yeah, 3379. And the first image that comes up when I look it up is a walrus.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
History. History. Yeah, no, it was by Weryllium in 2018. So yeah, no, it was actually done after this SCP.
Cool.
So that's neat.
So he's probably dead now in that one.
Yeah, he probably didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows?
Cool,
Maybe
though.
he did. Maybe he did. That I mean, at least he got to live his. He lived as he died. He died as he lived. If that's the case, wanting to be a deep sea diver.
Mm-hmm.
In the crushing depths of the Arctic, the cold crushing depths of the Arctic Ocean. But I digress yet again.
Wonder how many times you've digressed this episode.
I don't know, that's my word apparently today.
Yeah.
So this is another interview thing. This is, I think, regarding. Actually, this is a little bit more on the interpretation of the painting. So Dr. Maravilla, first, you experience no medical side effects from viewing SCP-3435. SCP-3435. No nausea, no diarrhea, constipation, any of those. And then 19060, yeah, nothing. Dr. Maravilla, no migraines either. And then the D class is nope. And then Maravilla, again, interesting. Please state for the record how you physically saw SCP-3435 and how you would interpret its meaning. And then the D class responds with, it looked like the dinosaur and the dragon were smiling in a way and holding hands. They were flying through the sky. As to the meaning, I'd say that they represent the artist's childhood, with the blue one being the so-called left brain and the red one being the artist's creativity. I'm not entirely sure. And then Maravilla responds, all right. Can you tell me about the dreams involving the entity in the painting? And so it keeps going on with that. But like, interesting that like this D class didn't experience any issues with this. It's like, so maybe it's not so much like that it like at this point when I was reading it, it's like maybe it's not so much that the art critique is what it's rebelling against, but it's also just like maybe you have to find the correct interpretation to not get sick.
Yeah.
So basically, like when you get close to the true interpretation, but then as we find out from Gutierrez, he literally just made it so that people would not think too hard on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite sure how to feel about this. This almost seems like a little bit like a plot hole to me.
I mean, he may have went home and just shat the bed, you know.
Oh yeah, he might, yeah, or back to his cell. It's like, oh, just
Yeah.
walked into his cell, just like had a delayed reaction, maybe.
Yeah, he was constipated, so he needed some diarrhea to kickstart.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
yeah. Or again, like his interpretation isn't very like super thorough. Like it's just like, yeah, no, it does kind of ring similar to what Gutierrez had in mind, because
Yeah, because he just wanted like the childish sort of thing where it's cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this guy did. Guy, for the most part, said so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Also, not too far off, really, based on. Oh yeah, no, okay, yeah, I basically just mentioned that. Yeah, and the idea like that we get from Gutierrez of like shit doesn't need to have super deep meanings, guys. Like that's why I did this piece of art to like basically attack critics that delve too deep into something. And I kind of find that as an agreeable statement personally. Like, shit doesn't always need a deeper meaning. Like, while it's fun and interesting to dissect and analyze a piece of art or fiction, sometimes shit just is cool for the sake of being fucking cool. So, and I know that may seem like an odd take for a show that we do based on discussing creepy internet stories on a more analytical level.
I mean, we don't
we
think
also
that much.
I mean, we do sometimes, but we also broach these stories as like reading them for the sake of having a fun read and of a piece of fiction and stuff like that. So it's like sometimes creepy shit is fun for the sake of being creepy and cool, and that's okay. And I feel like we try to balance that out with like with like some critical like thinking on the fiction. But yeah, no. What I'm saying is, I understand it might seem like hypocrisy. It might be a little bit, but it's also not. So you're wrong. You're wrong, and I hate you.
Yeah.
And now that I've alienated our viewership, let's move
Totally.
on to the next one. Addendum 343502. So, people of interest, or POI, or persons of
Love
interest.
those POIs.
Yeah, POI 0171 was apprehended during incident redacted 9592 involving AWCY. So AWCY, or Are We Cool Yet, is an art movement on the fringe of international art circles that seems responsible for spreading SCP art related entities.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, I love that idea as an antagonist for a campaign. Like, there's actually it also reminds me of there's a campaign frame or campaign setting of a similar nature in the Trail of Cthulhu RPG called Dreamhounds of Paris, which delves into the surrealist circles of artists using their art skills on the Dreamlands and its magics to alter reality itself and diving into that extra dimensional space. So like it basically, like, all those art circles, like those surrealist art circles from like the 1930s in Paris, like avant-garde, the Dadaists, the surrealists, they find like basically the little cracks in reality to go into the Dreamlands, or they find like little bits of little ways of getting into the Dreamlands and affecting the Dreamlands, and by affecting the Dreamlands, you're able to affect the real world in subtle ways. And they're able to affect the Dreamlands through their artwork. So you and then of course it just kind of turns it on its head, because suddenly these like you're not just encountering the regular Cthulhu mythos stuff like in the Dreamlands, like Gugs and ghouls and other monsters and beings from the Dreamlands. You're now dealing with those things that have been mutated by surrealist art. So suddenly, like, there's a Gug, which is like a split-mouthed, like multi-limbed, like beast, like giant monster. But now you're facing that thing that's suddenly done in like a weird, like, sort of like abstract art style. With like different angle, like with all the wrong angles and such. Or there's an antagonist in the campaign frame that's basically a femme fatale Hitler.
Okay.
Because of the surrealist movement, like they were basically making art as a rebellion against the socio-political norms of the day in Paris, and they're using these they're using the Dreamlands magic to try and alter reality with their artwork. But there's also like things that are mentioned in it that are like based off historical accounts, that claims from some of these eccentric folks that were living in Paris at the time and were doing art. Like, I remember off the top of my head, there was an artist that was in it. I can't remember their name, but it's actually like legitimately he commented he would not leave his apartment, his studio apartment, because he was afraid of the giant, like, misshapen tentacled thing that was like waiting outside his doorstep. And eventually he died under mysterious circumstances. In reality, like that's what happened to him in reality. Like he was before he died under mysterious circumstances. He was complaining that there was some horrible jellyfish-like thing just beyond his doorway in the hallway of his apartment, and that's why he would never leave his apartment.
He would die from starvation then.
I don't think. I think it might have just been starvation, or maybe it was suicide or something like that. But it was. I think it was actually like legitimately under mysterious circumstances. Like we don't have it recorded, or they couldn't have figured it. They weren't able to figure it out at the time.
It's been redacted.
Yeah. But again, like you can take that kind of stuff and like put it into these into a story about something more supernatural, or into a game and stuff like that, and have it supernatural, as the Trail of Cthulhu Dreamhounds of Paris did. And again, you can bump that up to like the modern day, and use this like sort of this art movement that's spreading supernatural and supernaturally contaminated art pieces. Like around the globe. That could be basically your monster hunt. Like it's basically artist of the month. You're just artist of the week. You're just hunting down a different artist and like trying to put a stop to their mad reality rending works of art.
Yeah.
It's like Van Gogh's got to be fucking stopped, or Van Gogh 2.0 has got to be stopped. And again, Van Gogh lived a very interesting life, like and died under very mysterious circumstances. Like he went out into a field to do some painting, came back with a gunshot, and they're still up in the air whether or not he shot himself as an attempted suicide, and then would later die like in his bed bleeding out and such, or if somebody shot him out in that field, because no one ever was able to recover his art easel and all that stuff out in the field, and no one ever recovered the gun. So it's up in the air as to whether or not like he was killed, or like specific, like unintentionally or intentionally murdered, or that he unintentionally or intentionally killed himself. So yeah, art history has a very interesting well of fodder for creepy stuff, and this story, this SCP entry, sort of kind of delves into that a little bit through its own telling of an art terrorist group and a strange artist who can paint an SCP into existence. So, this is my other kitchen segment of the episode.
Look at that fancy dual kitchen.
Yeah, but yeah. And maybe sometime we'll do an episode directly on Are We Cool Yet as a group, because I think they're also responsible for the name always escapes me of the SCP. Give me a second.
The one that murders you if you blink.
Yeah, the art project. Yeah, the paper mache art project that
I thought he was concrete.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. There's concrete inside of it and stuff. Yeah.
I thought he was entirely concrete.
I think it's SCP-173. I could be wrong. I'm probably right.
Because I saw him there.
SCP-173, yeah, is the statue, like the weird ass looking statue that's in in a corner, and if you blink, it's able to move and snap your neck or break or just destroy you. But yeah, there's like a bunch of there's a whole like little article here on the Are We Cool Yet movement. So maybe at some point we'll have to take a look at it and cover it for an episode. Again, adding it to my list.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we don't have enough content.
Apparently.
And I'm about to say it. I digress.
You did it.
Yeah. So my last note, I swear, guys, before I hand it over to you, requesting permission to conduct extended testing on SCP-3435, and that is from Dr. Weryllium. And then the last paragraph of the entry is denied. There is nothing more to be learned from it. In fact, your excessive involvement with this anomaly and the POI responsible already borders on the unprofessional. And if he hadn't provided valuable intel on AWCY activity before vanishing, you'd be on the disciplinary watch list already. Remember what's really important here. And this is from Personnel Director Acosta. So my first instinct, yeah, Dr. Maravilla's, like, throughout this entire entry and through, like, the documentation we get here, has kind of become contaminated in a way. Like, in his like, he's old friends, like schoolmates even, with Guillermo Gutierrez, as we find out. And like during his interview with Gutierrez, he basically, like, he gets cross-examined by Gutierrez as to, like, well, what is it? What have you seen the painting? What do you think it is? And what did they tell you? And then Gutierrez, it almost like turns around, like the interviewer has become the interviewee.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can kind of understand what Acosta is saying. Like, no, you've been contaminated. Like, you're going a little too far. At the same time, though, I have this, like, urge to just say "fuck off," Personnel Director Acosta. Way to be a buzzkill. Like,
That might just be you being like, stick it to the man situation.
yeah, stick it to the man, and also, like, maybe I'm also contaminated because, like, this thing's pretty harmless. Like, it can. I think it's safe to study still, but maybe that's just me.
You also don't know the lengths that they've studied it, so they might be like,
true.
"What do we do next?" I don't know.
I mean, we've already done, like, a pretty thorough interview, like, or like kind of like test of, like, how we know that the creatures insert themselves in dreams from anywhere between 1 night and 8 nights, and if you're an art snob, you're gonna have a bad time. But if you just take it at face value, it's actually rather rewarding. So we've taken enough thorough steps and enough thorough tests that I think we're good. We'll just archive this one.
The only thing they could figure out is the materials that make up the paint and how he did it.
Yeah,
because he's been kind of tight-lipped about that.
Yeah. Also, the fact that, yeah, and then Gutierrez apparently, like, vanished after this interview. Like, he found a way to, like, leave or escape, which I found was interesting. But yeah, that's my last actual thought here that I have written down anyway. It's just yeah, Marvilla might be contaminated, but you know what? Let him keep doing it. Whatever. But I digress. Mikey, D stands for evil. Europe.
So, my note here is on the entities that they actually seem rather therapeutic.
Yeah.
Basically, the dreams sort of bring out the inner child. Like,
I assume you have one.
Yeah. Well, in the first interview, it says, what did you want to do when you grew up? And I always wanted to be a deep sea diver. So,
and then later, he became a deep sea diver.
Yeah. So it was very therapeutic. And that first interview made me wonder, what if their influence actually makes you become what you wanted to be when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I could see it with the deep sea diver example. I could actually see that being like the SCP Foundation itself. Some people looked over the interview and it's like, all right, well, let's assign this D class to some deep sea dive duty, since, like, he might be good. He might be like psychologically
be more enthusiastic to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, he might be more motivated to do it. So yeah, that could be like, that's on the mundane angle. On the supernatural angle, yeah, maybe these guys are influencing things more than we realize.
Yeah. But the spot where that might fall apart is the third interview where the guy's saying that he always wanted to be on an alien spaceship and fly through the universe.
Well, we don't know what happened to SU to that D class. that story hasn't been written yet, I don't think, or it's been linked yet.
That one has been linked.
Oh wait, what? Fuck! There's another entry that.
That was the one that had the bone or whatever.
Oh right, yeah. Well, I haven't read too deep into that entry, so I don't know what that one entails.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's like a spine or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or it's predators from space.
Oh God.
There you go. He goes on a spaceship. Done.
Yep. Clearly. But yeah.
Yeah, and then the other interview, which sort of solidifies the more therapeutic, was just sort of helping the D class deal with the, I guess, death of his sister.
Death of her sister. Yeah.
Or her sister. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe getting back into painting, or no, not painting. Getting back into music as a result of that, that healing process.
Yeah, which is kind of hard to do with being a D class.
I mean, I'm sure they're given some like amenities like while they're in their cells and such.
They get a harmonica. I've seen movies.
I've seen like in regular like prison stuff. Like if prisoners are on like good terms, they do get things. They can requisition like certain things. It's why like some prisoners have guitars and like easels and stuff like that. Like I've seen movies, like Gamer just said.
Yeah,
I've seen TV shows. I've seen crime dramas. I think So are you really just gonna get at that? This is the Supernatural Task Force's psyche valve person. Just a painting.
Well, I feel like this would more work for the SCP because I mean they clearly already using it for the deep sea diver.
Yeah. That's why there's no more further testing because they're just like it's just in a facility somewhere in redacted.
R&D is done, so it's good to go for like normal use.
Yeah, so they just walk. The person walks in with like this person that needs some therapy, like needs like the psyche valve and like somebody to talk to, like it's like the cop therapist. Again, I've seen TV shows. I know they exist.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched I just watched an episode of Manifest, where the character was talking to the on-site psyche valve person. And yeah, like they walk into the room, it's just like a bare bones like office space with a single painting like on the wall and a one of those reclining benches or reclining sofas that like so you look at the painting and then you fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then you have your psych session, your therapy session.
Well, the next day, 'cause you have to dream.
Well, yeah. Oh no, that's what I mean. Like they look at the painting.
Oh yeah.
And then they lie down on the reclining couch and fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think the key thing that would be interesting is that if it did sort of cause your childhood dreams to become reality.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Like as a sort of to elaborate on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because then that would really hammer down why the SCP has this sort of in containment.
I mean, it makes sense. Like they're grabbing everything because they don't want anything fucking weird, like disrupting the mundane world. And it is actually kind of interesting that, like, yeah, this because these entities really aren't threatening at all. This is a buddy horror again. Everything's a buddy horror if you think hard enough on it. Yeah, you kind of did do point something out here. Like nothing really happens with this SCP artifact, so that's like super threatening. It really just sort of leads to some more threatening things like the "Are we cool yet?" movement. But it's really just like the Foundation found something that they thought might be a threat, and their assessment is that it's not a threat.
Keep it locked up anyway.
Yeah. Of course they're going to keep it locked up because that's what the SCP Foundation does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you've covered most of my other notes, so we're good.
Okay. Actually, just as sort of a quick thing here. Yeah, you also kind of brought up, it's like, so it actually like this makes a lot more sense like reading this, because you get a little bit more about like just as to why the creatures were so helpful to Joey in the Joey story. Like it's just what they do. they go across they go across the dreamlands, across the dreamscapes, using their physical manifestation, which is the painting, to help people. Like recover from and like get like pepped, like basically they pep talk and boost people up psychologically. But yeah, that's
But the Foundation has to keep it under wraps because otherwise, all of the therapists in the world would lose their jobs.
yes, that's the big that's the major threat is the economic horror of this threat, because like if they could just replicate it, like hundreds of people would be out of jobs.
Yeah, and all art critics would suffer.
Yes, I mean that's a blessing. Oh.
Yeah.
I kid.
The end of art snobs.
Death of arts. That's how we get this like that's the murder mystery like that's tied to this, is that like somebody just died like so bad, like from such a violent like illness, and so they think it's some kind of like they bring in like the CDC or like FEMA or something like that, thinking that it's some kind of bio attack on the art gallery, but it's just that these art critics were like hypothesizing and snobbing so hard about this art piece that they just like projectile vomited to death.
Yeah.
Like the symptoms just got so bad because they doubled down on trying to art critic each other about this piece.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to run that scenario now. This like sort of like false flag or like red herring like biohazard attack thing, but using like basically an art horror. I couldn't run it with you guys because you guys now know what the twist is. But I'd run it like the way I'd run it is like, yeah, your characters are all like if I ran this in Delta Green or Esoterrorist, yeah, you're all professionals in the fields of like biohazard or like CDC sort of thing. You go into this place in like full on hazmat suits. Or you're looking at the bodies and like nothing's really showing any signs. Like what the hell is going on? Like where are these guys found at some art gallery? All right, let's go to the art gallery and take a look. And then that's where the art gallery where the painting gets them, because like they look around, they see this really weird, like this really rad painting of like of dinosaur and a dragon, and then like that night they get infected with the creatures, or even worse, there's a sign saying. Like maybe because this was planted by an art terrorist group. There's a sign specifically at the foot of the painting, like on a plaque, saying, just asking like what do you see in this painting, or like what is your interpretation of this painting? Like it's specifically in brackets, like underneath the title, dream a better dream. And that's when
the players says what their interpretation of it is.
Yeah.
And then at that point, they start like vomiting inside their mask.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's when you start asking for like fortitude saves and sand checks, because suddenly they're just vomiting and like, or like having massive like stomach cramps and constipation for no reason whatsoever. But they think they're infected now for some reason. Like maybe even like hit like they're like, was your chute properly like tied up? So like again to kind of like hone in on like the paranoia of like being contaminated with like with a disease.
Because I'm fine. Why are you sick? That's weird.
Mm-hmm. Maybe have the other players roll spot checks, and then if they fail spot checks, Well, it does look like his suit isn't properly like set up. Oh, like it looks like his suit isn't properly like sealed. That's the failure, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so fucking good. Like again, and then just sit back as the GM and just watch your players go nuts because they're gonna go nuts with paranoia and fear over the wrong thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, I love that. That's a I'm writing that down for a game I might have to run with somebody.
Do it.
But I guess it's since that's it for you, Mikey, right?
Yep.
All right, I guess we go into gamer.
Okay. Pretty early on, starts describing the containment of it. It says SCP-3435 is to be contained in an opaque, airtight case equipped with a desiccator to preserve it. First thing I thought there is what?
No, keep going. I'm just laughing.
Okay. The first thing I thought when reading that is like, is this going to be about 3D printer filament? Because that's exactly what I have to do with mine. Keeping it air like away from the light and like with the desiccator in it to preserve it so it doesn't get moisture in it.
Yeah. See, my feeling with that, like, what I was laughing at was like, because desiccator, my first impression was like, so it mummifies? No, it's actually a device that gets rid of moisture. It's basically like a dehumidifier, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure like the little salt packets are the same things.
Are those what those are?
Yeah.
Okay.
The silica.
I mean, that makes sense because that's what salt does. Is it draws in all the moisture.
Hmm.
So, but yeah.
It does make me wonder though, like if there was some anomalous 3D printer filament, like you print out an action figure and the action figure like comes to life.
Yeah, it's like an updated version of the Indian in the Cupboard movie or the story.
Yeah, pretty
Or
much.
no, like,
Yeah.
it's instead of a cupboard, it's the it's the Indian in the 3D printer.
Yeah, pretty
Or
much.
it's like the genie in the 3D printer. Like it's like a 3D printer that will print like living beings as action figures.
Hell
Fuck,
yeah.
I want that story. I want that
Yeah.
updated story now. Damn you. And then of course for the horror angle, it's got to go wrong. So then we get evil puppet, or like we get the evil puppet series or demonic toys,
Sure.
where they're actually like the reason why they're coming to life is because they're possessed by like demonic spirits.
Mm-hmm.
This is just toy or small soldiers all over again.
Yeah, small soldiers. Oh, I had both of those, both
Yeah.
small soldiers and Indian Uncovered on VHS.
Sames.
Yeah.
I think it was a 90s staple.
Also, speaking of small soldiers, in the intro of that, it actually shows them 3D printing the action figures.
Yeah, well,
Like
because
an
they're in the
old
assembly line.
school, like
Yeah.
90s or 80s 3D printer.
Yeah, it was 90s.
They like science fictioned it up.
Yeah, well, it was basically like a big old like it was a an assembly line for toys. So, but yeah,
That's my random tidbit for the day.
no, that's cool.
Ow.
You had to
Yeah,
hit yourself for that.
I leaned back in my chair. I hit my elbow on the table. So moving on to when it's describing the dinos,
Mhm.
it goes over the description and it says that one's a dinosaur, the other one's a dragon, and all that.
Yeah.
And that's great. However, I remember the two creatures being both Godzilla-like dinos. Like
Was that?
in the Joey Fucknut stories, the way he describes them is that one's a lizard and he has like robot parts on him, and that one's also a lizard, but he's a wizard. He
Well, yeah,
literally
that's
just
because-
refers to them as lizards. So, but they were lizards on two legs, which immediately put Godzilla in my head for both of them.
Yes, but that's also because Joey is describing it as a simple man.
Yes, you
Yeah.
are 100%
Okay.
right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying my view of these creatures changed
Okay,
reading the actual source material.
gotcha.
In the source material, it's like I guess a freaking T-Rex or a Godzilla dude and
Yeah.
a straight up dragon, like a Western fantasy dragon.
Yeah, that's what a wyvern generally that's what a wyvern is. Yeah.
Yeah. Very different visual.
Yeah, but again, like it makes sense because like it's through the eyes of a simple country zombie.
Very simple. Just garden variety zombie man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then it gets on to the interview with the POI dude. So his name shows up. It's very flowery. I didn't even try to pronounce it. I'm glad you did 5 times, so I don't have to say it.
It's fine. Yeah.
That guy.
Guillermo Gutierrez.
Yeah.
I only know it because I know Guillermo del Toro and Gutierrez. For some reason, I immediately Googled this character's name because I thought it was something I recognized because I recognized Gutierrez, and I still don't know where I know that from, but I think it's. I want to actually think that it's from like one of the Predator movies or from Aliens, but I don't know.
Maybe.
It was definitely a Latino name that I was familiar with from a movie or a TV show or something.
Possibly, but either way, he has a fancy sounding name, at least to my simpleton kind of brain.
Yeah,
and he's an artist, so like for some reason I viewed him like before he even spoke. When they're talking about him, I viewed him as like some older dude who's like fancy and proper, but like he's old school at least, if not physically old, because he's an artist and all that. However, he just talks like a dude.
Yeah, no, he's just a rad hippie dude.
You know,
like, he's like, hey man. Like, I was thrown off that Marvella like that, like how like they knew each other. I was like, whoa.
They just immediately started broing out. Yeah. Pretty much.
And that's basically what he is. Yeah, he's a bro. He's a bro artist.
Mm-hmm. But okay, that's that out of the way. However, like when he actually starts talking, he's talking like he has no idea what the fuck's going on, saying shit like someone stole his art and he's just getting it back. He doesn't know anything about it. However, when he's further questioned, he says he knows about the anomalous properties and he thought it might have been hilarious and like he did it. So basically it's very flip-floppy, the whole interview with this guy.
Yeah, and you notice that Weryllium is nonplussed and actually is like going with it. So again, I think all right, my previous comment about fuck you, Dr. Acosta or Mr. Acosta or Director Acosta, he might be they might be right. Weryllium might have been like basically like just going along with it and like because like they're friends, they were friends. And like maybe Gutierrez does vanish under mysterious circumstances after this interview from containment. So yeah, I think he's still he's actually a part of AWCY, and like you won't get me. I defy you. Just like vanishes, like creates a little prospector guy. But no, yeah, I think you're right. Like the way I just clued into that now. Like in the interview, he's like, "No, man, I was just there to get my artwork." It was like, I mean, I definitely didn't put it there. Okay, maybe I put it there, but it was to get back at all those damn art critics just thinking too hard.
He like straight up says that.
Yeah, he definitely like reels back from his statements in the story. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it's just weird.
I think it's if it's not intentional, or even if it's intentional or not, I think it's great for this because it does show this character playing it off, like playing ignorant, and then like just deciding to fucking like just go with it because he's got the upper hand somehow. Because again, like right after this interview, he vanishes from. Mm-hmm. So like yeah, I think it's actually a really neat way to like have this character because like yeah, though they're totally in on it, even though like they at first deny it. Like it plays like the con man sort of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's about all I got for notes.
Okay. Then I guess we'll move on to final thoughts. What can I say? It's not terribly spooky, but it was really fucking interesting, and like I got a lot of fodder from it, and a lot of fun from it. So I'm gonna keep this simple and sweet. I recommend it because fucking cool. Sometimes cool shit just is cool for cool sake. So yeah, that's my recommendation. Mikey, D stands for evil.
Yeah, this was definitely interesting. I wanted it to go more, but we didn't get more. That's good. But like I stated, it would have been nice for the childhood dream to become reality, or sort of
Yeah, that would
something
be.
to push that along.
Yeah.
But we won't know for certain until we read those two other entries. But that would make this much more horror based, because some kids wanted the stupidest things when they were
Oh yeah.
kids.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I wanted Pokemon to be real. That would be horrible.
Yeah, a little bit.
God, that would be terrifying if life forms like that had the powers they do. It'd be like elder gods all over the earth.
Hmm.
I mean, there's a whole series. There's literally a whole RPG called Poke Cthulhu, where it's basically combines Pokemon and Cthulhu together.
Nice. So, like I was saying, I as it stands, there's very therapeutic dinosaur and dragon, which I don't see why it's being held by the SCP other than for reasons.
It's the series. Well, the Foundation is called SCP because it's secure, contain, protect. It doesn't just mean that they're
normal.
Yeah, it's not normal, and they're trying to protect the mundane world from supernatural things, both that are threatening and hostile, and even the most banal ones need to be secured and contained, protected.
Yeah, like if they found the Fountain of Youth, they would SCP it.
I'm sure that's an SCP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to recommend this one.
Cool. And then we have Gamer.
Okay. Well, for me, I feel the writer was trying to, like his focus of this was perhaps something to do with his own creation process, and like maybe his own past experiences through college and going through writing school and stuff like that, where he was possibly bullied by other art critics, people thinking too heavily about his art. So he created this to express his disdain for people that think too much about certain pieces of.
Are you okay? Are you okay over there?
I'm okay. Maybe I'm just thinking about it too much. But basically,
thank you, Gamer.
Yeah, but basically, I kind of like it. I mean, it's nice and simple. I thought it was really short when I first looked at it, but then I noticed that you can open it up and it gets bigger and bigger.
Then you saw the 2 interview logs.
Yeah. But I'm glad they're there because it does add a lot. The whole interview thing, as I said before, was a little confusing, and I don't know if it's intentional to be that way.
I think it added a lot of character too, like not just like that, like it added characters, but I mean like it added a lot of like character to the text. Like we got to know, we get to see some personality in some of these characters, and especially like in that last interview, we get to see the personality of Gutierrez. So
yeah, but like really at the end of the day, it's an anomalous practical joke more than an entity, really.
Yeah,
and I guess like anything anomalous, it fits in the SCP. And it's nice to see entities who aren't just all about taking over the world or murder. So yeah. I'll give it props for that as well.
Like even Hollow Hank is like, as nice of a guy as he is, he's still like bringing forth kaiju monsters off the coastline that have to be put down. Like these guys just like this guy literally just created a painting that manifested these dimensional beings, these dimensional dragon creatures that can seep into people's brains through their visual interaction with the medium. And then what they do is they just basically boost them up psychologically and help them through some traumas that they have deep down. Like they're literally, like we keep saying, they're basically dream therapists.
Yeah, they straight up are. It's an interesting concept, and overall recommend it because it was an easy read. We learned what an artist is.
Yeah.
And that whole other group of basically artist terrorists, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. Which does actually, again, like falls into the whole anartist thing. Like they're basically a group of anartists, and it seems like basically you don't even need to like know anybody else within the group. You just need to basically be an anartist to be associated with the ACW or the ACW, sorry, the ACWY. No, the AWCY, the Are We Cool Yet group.
Yes, which is also a weird and funny name.
Yeah,
like
it makes sense. It makes, honestly, as far as like art movements go, like like names for art movements and stuff, it makes perfect sense. Like Dadaism, Dada is a surrealist group that literally they just like they will grab a toilet and put a tire on it and a flower, and that's art. And the reason they did it and the reason they call it Dada is because Dada is one of the first words that a baby says when it's their first word, basically, is Dada. Like
could be mama.
Well, yeah, it could be mama, but Dada was the one they chose.
Okay, fair.
And it's because basically, like art, like I think it's been a hot minute since I was in art school. But
also,
from what I remember,
I thought you meant DATA.
No, it's DADA.
Dada, not data.
Dada. Yeah, and like Dadaism and stuff like that is basically just like making junk art and making junk and calling it art. That's Dadaism. Like that was the movement, because it's all about the interpretation.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's a bunch of like groups and stuff like that, and art movements out there like nowadays and stuff that have like random names, like literally randomly generated names. Like there's actually Matt from the Drunk and the Ugly just sent me some links to an art project, like an art installation in Las Vegas called Omega Mart, which is by a group of performance artists that are called Meow Wolf. And the reason they're called Meow Wolf, when they first got together to be an art movement, like to be this performance art like company or like a group, they took two hats, put a bunch of random words into each, and then they basically just made garbled names from the two words that they pulled out of the hat, and then they selected which one they liked the most, and they got Meow Wolf.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I was watching a sort of like the history of Omega Mart and Meow Wolf, and that was like that, and that's an art movement there. Like that's an art group that does like performance art of like this weird ass. Honestly, it's an SCP creepypasta fodder like in itself that I might have to get Matt on to talk about, because it's basically an AR, like a living augmented reality game of a mall or like a supermarket that produces you can buy items from it from other realities and other dimensions, and there's a bunch of like narrative puzzles inside of the actual building. It is very interesting. However, back to my point, yeah, like art movements can be named really weird and random things just for the sake of it. So.
Cool. And to finish up my recommendation, I'll give it a maybe, just because of the interview being kind of confusing, and I don't fully understand what they're trying to say there.
Okay, fair enough.
But the rest of it is enjoyable enough that it's still in the positives.
Okay, so about 2.5 then. Recommendations. Okay, that's not bad.
Mm.
Yeah, no. Yeah, if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. Where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. We're all on Twitter if you'd like to talk to us there. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W because his name is very long.
It's got to be.
And I'm at Review Cultist. If you'd like to send us emails, you can go to aldenterigamortis@gmail. No, you can send them to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs. Please be sparing with the SCPs of late. We're kind of getting a little SCP'd out.
Off. Oh, out.
SCP'd out. We're getting a little SCP'd out a little bit. Like we love SCPs, but we're never gonna run out of them.
No, never ever.
Um,
Hell, we're never ever going to run out of normal creepypastas.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, we have the entirety of internet of like at least 2 decades worth of internet fiction to look through
Mm-hmm.
from countless authors. Yeah. But yeah, if you'd like to send us like SCPs, creepypastas, cryptid sightings, spooky things that you found on the internet, do send them. Just know that we might take some time between SCP entries and normal creepypastas, or regular creepypastas.
Yeah, that makes it sound like SCPs are weird. They're not weird. They're just.
I mean, they're weird, but they're not weird. They're bad guys, but they're not bad guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, what we're trying to say here is send us your stuff. Just be patient with us when it comes to them coming in, like getting posted. So, and if you'd like to help support the show financially, you can go to Patreon and select the backer you'd like to support us at Al Dente Rigamortis there. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these entries and stories, thank you guys immensely, because without your listenership, it would be like speaking into the void. Every time we get a comment, I share with the other guys, and we get very, very happy. So yes, please comment if you listen to the show and you have anything. Don't be afraid to comment on any of the streaming services or on our YouTube channel or whatever you. We always look out for them. So, and to the authors of these entries and stories, thank you immensely, because without your works that you share out there in internet land, we wouldn't have much of a show at all, because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.